So we're going to use the 4 queens for this, and interesting thing about the spades, the queen of spades, is it acts like a guide for the rest of the queens. So if I place them in a line here on the table, I'm going to add 3 indifferent cards to each of the queens, like this. I've set these up so that they should just be red cards, so that the queens stand out amongst the rest of the cards in the packet. So as I said, the spades is a guide, so we can keep track of this packet here. And I'll gather up the other 3 like this. So we have the 3 queens separated out in 3 different parts of the packet. But if I throw the packet to the table, you should be able to see that the queens actually vanish from here and congregate together on the table. But this doesn't just work with these 12 cards, right? You can do it with more than just 12. And the spades is still the guide. So it works with the entire pack, in fact. If I place the queens in 4 different parts of the pack, like this. But we don't want to lose track of the guide. So we'll keep it separate. If we square up the cards like this, the guide can be way, way away from the pack like this, or here. And you remember how there were 4 packets of the queens? Well, now they all congregate together and jump out of the deck. So this is the explanation of the instant assembly. I've taken a lot of inspiration from Spanish way of thinking about doing this type of plot. Direct influence has been from Kiko Pastor, and he really helped with the choreography of certain moves, and Nacho Sanchez Portillo, again with the flow and the routining. And it's very nice to have the effect come much sooner than you're expecting. So it's not like the cards vanish one by one, they immediately congregate together, and again in the second phase, they immediately jump out of the pack. So I think this really speeds it up, but also is a nice diversion from the classic plot. This is the explanation of the instant assembly. Going to take out some court cards. It really doesn't matter what 4 of a kind you use. I just use court cards because the detail I think is a little more discrepant, changing a spade for a club or a heart for a diamond or vice versa. So you're also going to remove, I take out 12 red cards, red spot cards, but purely just because the queens stand out now amongst the rest of the cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12. The setup is that you just put these on top of the pack, the 12 cards, but you're going to take 2 of them and they will go on top of these queens. So for me, because I'm using red cards, I want the contrast to be that the black queens are the focus point of the assembly. So they go on they're the lowermost 2, and then you have 2 red cards above that, or indifferent cards above that, and this is your setup. This is square on top of the pack, and then you're ready to go. So you introduce the 4 queens, or you spread off 4 cards and then spread 2 more and catch a break, and then turn over this block of 6 cards as like this on top of the pack, and then you spread to display the 4 queens. And you say one of the queens has a certain quality, so for example the spades, in this case the lowermost queen, you call attention to. You place these on top and pick up at the break just so that you have these 6 cards, but you're also going to take 1 more card. This is usually employed in like an at-first type thing, but we're going to do it on the table instead of on the deck. So you have the break here, and you thumb off 1 card. It's important that the cards are sort of central and further back towards me. I'm going to place the cards on the table here. So what I do is I thumb off this top card, and this hand always stays above the pack. So I thumb off the second one, and as I go to thumb off the third one, I just deposit these 2 underneath and just thumb off the third one. So these 2 are now held by the break. And I've thumbed off this queen. Apparently I have 3 cards here, and I've turned my hand down to point to the table here, and because this hand is so close, your hand should come down and just deposit those cards below the break onto the deck. So you've deposited these 2 queens here. Ideally this is square, but in performance this misdirection is so strong that the fact that these cards become slightly unsquare is just not seen. This hand then, as opposed to coming back and then thumbing off this last one, because it's meant to be the last queen, you just bring the packet forward and place it on top and turn everything over, spread over the cards, and I actually spread them over like in a reverse spread way, and I place the central 2 cards in the middle and then these 2 cards outside. What you've done if you switched the 2 red queens for 2 red in different cards, and the 2 leader, or the leader queen is over here, and you have another queen of the matching color over here. Now you're going to take off apparently 3 cards and place them on each of the cards, and you're going to employ something that's very useful that not a lot of people do, I think, which is employing the natural break that the cards have, in that you should be able to just pick up at the break. Because these cards are reversed, you should be able to pick up those top 3 cards very easily. So you do this, you pick up 3, then thumb off 2 more below it, and you square up the cards, but as you square up, you're going to deposit these 2 back onto the pack. So when you square up the packet, you're actually just bringing forward the 2 queens and this random card. And that will go on the spades packet. So altogether it looks like this. You pick up here, 1, 2, 3, square up, dropping these 2 here, and place the packet on top. So what you've done is you have now 3 queens here, and in a different card, one of the queens is face down, the last queen is here. The last 3, you just mimic the same actions, but you're actually placing 3 cards on top of each of them, like this. And the deck is just set to the side. So your setup now is these are just red cards, 3 red cards and 1 queen, and your 3 queens. You pick up the spades packet and do sort of like a bottom deal, or take the bottom card and turn it face up on top, and say we're going to keep track of this packet, and I bring it back towards me, and pick up each of these 3 and collate them together. I collate the packets together and turn it face up, and I tilt my hand up and riffle the packet and say that I have the queens separated throughout the pack. I think this is a nice image. Really all you have is 1 queen at the face of all of these red cards. What you're going to do now is a Marlowe change, where the cards are here, and you put them slightly into the clip between your little finger and ring finger. And ideally, if you're curling your middle finger in at this top corner, your thumb should be able to relinquish its grip and go around to the edge. And you should be able to peel off just this top card. It takes it's a bit of a knack, but you should be able to get it, and you're peeling off this top card. And now, if you extend this middle finger, the packet should fall down, and you should have the queen in like a Tenkai palm sort of grip. This is done as you throw the cards forward, so the grip is here, and you peel off this card, and you throw the cards forward, and turn ever so slightly. For me, because I'm left-handed, I'll turn slightly to my right, but a lot of you, because you're right-handed, you'll turn slightly to your left, but this covers the palmed card. And also, you're throwing the packet down. A lot of misdirection is towards the packet anyway. This hand just sort of, the fingers curl in, and the card is hidden on, especially on the edge of the table. You need a table for this trick, so you might as well use the cover that it allows. My free hand then spreads the cards and shows that there are no queens now in the packet, and because this packet would have been here, I come down and scoop up the packet. I deposit this queen on top as I'm picking up the packet from the table. What this has now is you have an indifferent random card in the middle, queens sandwiching at either side, so you can do an Ascanio spread to display the packet. It's a nice moment to immediately pick up the cards and immediately spread like this. In brief, the Ascanio spread, you take the packet from above, your forefinger contacts this lowermost card and drags it across, your middle finger contacts the next card and drags it across, your thumb contacts this top card, and you now have a double here. You bring to this position, 1, 2, 3, double comes out, and you take the top card with your forefinger, and you can just display the cards like this. You want to now ditch this lowermost card, so you place these 2 cards on top, and the cards are square, and you say how the guide works, it's indiscriminate of the amount of cards that you use. So I place these cards straight onto the deck, and that takes care of this card. So these just go onto the pack, and I pick up these cards and I say, you can use more than 12 cards. And in doing this, I just count off 3 from the face and catch a break. So I've just got a break underneath the top 3 cards of the pack. And now pick up the queens and say that comment that the spades is still the guide. I place these on top, and now I'm able to pick up at the break as this hand risk kills and places the red cards on top of the deck and brings the deck over here. Basically, you've just placed 3 indifferent red cards underneath the queens. The choreography is such that you're holding the cards here, so the thickness of the packet is completely hidden. Then you transfer it to dealer's grip, and your hand reaches over and sort of squares up the cards. You want it over, for me, because I'm left-handed, I want it towards my right, but a lot of you, if you're right-handed, you would want it towards the left, because you're going to spread the cards. And with how you usually spread the cards would be, you would want it in this side of the table, or for me, I would want it in this side of the table, because we're going to do a Vernon move in a moment. But before we do, as you're squaring up these cards, you can take the moment to squeeze in with the little finger, creating a sharp bow in the cards. You should be able to see from the edge of the table, the cards now bow upwards. But it's only on one end, right? So from the front, nothing is seen. So you square the cards, and this hand is covering the bending action. Even if people see, I don't think it's a particularly weak moment. But the cards are here, and I spread off 1, 2, 3, and I'm holding the cards like this, but spread of 3 so that I can catch the break below the clubs. So I square these up, and now I have a break below the top 3 cards. I now insert my little finger into the break, and take the packet and rotate it over, which would cause a slight step. This is Vernon's addition move to, first of all, you step the cards, and then you're going to deposit them on the top of the pack. So you'll notice there's a slight lip here on the Queen of Spades. My thumb and this part of my finger can clip this packet and take it away, as this hand just comes straight to the pack and immediately spreads the cards. And I've deposited these 3 here. So what it should look like is I spread the cards, I show them, I turn everything down, and I spread. So this leaves me with 4 cards in the hand, which is it's a nice position to be in, because you can immediately spread these cards, and there's there's nothing to see. It's exactly how it should be, right? But you've spread the cards, and you take off the first card and insert it in the pack, the second one, insert it in the pack. I don't think you should read too much into it, but it's nice to turn your hand face over when and holding the cards in order to insert the card, because you get a flash of the queen each time. I don't think it's particularly convincing, you're not seeing the color change, but it's just a nice quick motion that they see some cards. I go to place in the Queen of Spades, but then I say, oh no, wait, we can't lose track of the guide. We need to keep the guide separate. So I square up everything but the guide. Really, these queens are now on top of the pack, and you'll notice that this bow is now towards me. So you should be able to see that it's very easy to pick up these 3 queens just from that little crimp. This was an idea shown to me by Gabby. You'll have the other crimps throughout the pack, but they're not going to interfere with your top cards. So the cards are now, I square up the cards, and they're here, and I place them just, again, slightly towards myself. And now what I'm going to do is I gesture with the queen in this corner. So I come diagonally upwards so that my hand is covering the deck, basically. So I can say that we can place the queen way away from the pack, and I come back here and point, and now my right hand, a lot of you, if your right hand is going to be your left hand, points over here to the left hand side, and you'll notice my arm is again covering here. What I should be able to do is this hand just comes down and just picks straight up at that break. So now you have all 4 in the hand. And again, you're holding the cards from above, so the thickness of the packet is hidden. So it's like here, pick up, and then I bring the cards back to this position, and I mime just pressing at the 4 positions of where the queens were, the image right at the beginning. And then you do the snap thing where you just sort of push down, and your fingers at the front let go, and you turn the cards over and you show that the 4 queens have apparently invisibly, if they were still to be lying out, you picked up 1, 2, 3 and all 4, and there's a nice snapping sound to accentuate the ending of the effect. And I spread the cards face up just to show that there are no other queens. Don't know if it's entirely necessary, this is clearly impossible, but you know, it's a nice way to end. So that is the assembly. Dan.
Yeah.
So lovely to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure. We're going to use the aces. Okay. And something absolutely fascinating happens when we consider their order. Now, not a lot of people know this, but I'll show you what I mean. Would you name any number from 1 to 10?
6.
Okay. So we can remember the suit order of the 6s in the pack, and I'll help you remember them. Just, I'm a nice guy. So we start off with diamonds. A little further down. Okay, so diamonds, clubs. Diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades. Diamonds, clubs, hearts, and then spades is here. Would you hold out your hand for me? Okay, diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades. Because if I place the aces in the same order as the 6s, diamonds, clubs, hearts, I think this will work. Diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades. If I place them in the same order as the 6s, like this, diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades, then they should change into the 6s.
Nice.
In order. Diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades.
Very cool.
You're welcome. So this is an explanation of the cull effect. I don't have a better name. I'm sure maybe we'll find some in the interim. But anyway, I'm going to remove the 4. Any 4 of a kind works. I'm going to use court cards because when I have the audience member name a number, it's going to switch for a spot card. And this is just a very definite change of a card from a court card to any number card. It's very obvious, very easy to see, just in case they don't remember what the cards were to start off with. I've also used aces. I don't think it really makes much of a difference, but let's just use jacks for clarity. So I set up the cards such that the red jacks are sandwiching the black jacks. This works also. I just use red cards on the outside anyway. And the deck is face down in my hand. This means that it can be done. This effect can be done entirely in the hands. So I say to the spectator, there's something interesting about the order of these cards, and I'll show you what I mean, basically. I use the lowermost jack to turn these 3 over, and they go on top of the pack, and I turn the deck over, and I begin spreading the cards. This jack just goes straight underneath the packet. So effectively, it's like I've culled the jack of hearts, but you know, it's in an offhand way in that you're asking the question of the spectator at the same time to name any number from 1 to 10. I think the question is well placed in that they dissociate that number from being related to the cards. So they'll name 7. They don't expect that I'm going to go through and take out the 7s. I think it's enough, as opposed to saying name a 4 of a kind. That's a little more obvious. Whereas when I say name a number from 1 to 10, that also covers this action of just placing the jack underneath. So I'm spreading through the cards and the jack is just running underneath the cards as per the usual cull. What I wanted to do was come up with a switch that uses the cull, because I noticed that the first culled card is the most difficult and all subsequent ones are much easier. So let's say that they name the 7s. So I say, would you name a number from 1 to 10? And they name 7. And we run through and I call attention to the suit order of the 7s. What I'm going to do, now I have this jack. This 7 is very easy to cull. And a quick note on the Hofstadter cull that I don't think a lot of people have put thought into. The ring finger is here and the middle finger is here. And this means that the thumb doesn't have to touch the card at all. That 7 of hearts is now in perfect position to be culled. These fingers also curl in a little bit in that this half of the card is exposed. This way, this whole spread can cover the 7, and these fingers don't push the card in any way. So this spread covers the 7, and then these fingers can just cull the card. And the thumb doesn't need to contact the deck at all. So let me do it again with the next one. So in this case, the diamonds. You come over and cull, and the thumb hasn't touched the cards at all. In the meantime, the thumb can be spreading off for the next cull. I know a lot of people using the Roadrunner cull, but don't use this as an additional tip. So the thumb is nowhere near the card when culling. and you've been able to cull all of these cards. They go to the bottom of the jack, and what you have now is you've retained the suit order of the 7s, and also the jack is at the face. When I originally did this switch, I would just now, at this point, once I've culled the final 7, I would just tilt my hand in, and this would cause the packet to glide, or the deck glides off of it, and I can just easily square the cards and place them down. I would say that, we're going to use the jacks, and if I place and immediately go into it, and this is the basis of the switch. To make it perhaps a little more convincing, you can spread through and go all the way to this first jack, because you only have 3 and they're masquerading as 4, so you don't want to spread all of them. But you can split the packet here, and this culled packet is still not square with the rest of the deck. At this point I say to the spectator, would you hold out your hand? And I do this same tilting, but the whole deck goes on top of that jack of diamonds. I tilt the cards and continue to rotate the pack, and this goes in their hand. So now you'll know why we put the red jacks outside the black jacks, because you get a color retention, right? So you've culled these cards, you come through. I would say, would you hold out your hand for me? And the packets have been switched. So what's nice, and a reason why I did do it with aces, is when you have 2 red aces like this, you would show the packet here and do the switch, and your thumb can cover the pip as you're handing the deck to the spectator. So they see that this is an ace, but perhaps, the suit is covered. I don't think it's particularly necessary, because it's very minor discrepancy, but still, if you fancy being covered, then that's how you would go about it. So, once again, the 7s are in the pack, and the motivation for this is that I call attention to the suit order. And so again, I think it's not really vital or necessary, it's relevant at the end, but it's again something that the audience's mind is going on a certain track of where the effect might be going, and hopefully the punch of the ending completely comes before what they might have been expecting. So yeah, you call, remembering the order, hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs, they all go below the jack, spread through. I would say, would you hold out your hand for me? Again, the tip. Okay, so I've lost the jack. Where did it go? Here. So once again, with the 7s, the 7s are inside of the pack. I would gesture with this hand saying, would you name a number from 1 to 10, and begin spreading, and they name 7, and then I call attention to the suit order. So for example, hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs. And those are all culled beneath the jack, and I then continue spreading through, ask them to hold out their hand like this, do the tilting motion and turn the entire pack over, it goes here, and now I have this packet of 5 cards and I've switched the 7s in. I turn the packet face down and I thumb off these top 2 and then just spread these last 2. So I'm doing a version of the Ascanio spread, I guess, in that you're thumbing off 2, but the order of these are not changed. What this allows for is a little subtlety later on. So the jack is also now in the central position. So now you can do another Ascanio spread, and you show this double via the Stuart Gordon move. And you're just displaying the jacks casually. So it's like, at this moment in time, I say, if I was to place the jacks in the same order as the 7s, and I point back to the pack, and I'm usually connecting with the audience member at the same time, like looking them in their face and not just staring at the cards. If I place them in the same order of the jacks, and I think it's very disarming to slightly look up. Joe Barry does this an awful lot, and it's really, really effective. Because if you're looking up, a lot of the time the audience will look at your face. They might, they wouldn't look up because you're not looking at anything in particular, but they very rarely would not look up to your face. But anyway, they can burn your hands for this, which is what's so great. In that Ascanio spread, you've positioned the jack second from top, and what this allows is that you can do another Ascanio spread immediately, and if you'll notice, the jack is now hidden as the double here. So what I do is I do this, and I do some sort of waving gesture, and I do the Stuart Gordon double with this hand, while the fingers of this hand just rotate the entire packet. I thumb this, then 1, 2, 3, and you have this nice display of the 4 jacks having changed into the 4 sevens, with the double being concealed here. So once again, it's one Ascanio spread, then another one immediately to show the 4 cards. The double is here, so it's a little easier to conceal, I think, and these cards I just place back on top of the pack. Now, for the patter line, there is a moment which retains the suit order. So say in the deck they were clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds. That's easy enough to remember. You'd pull out the jacks and thumb off 2, and then spread this last one, but don't reverse it, and then place it on here. You can do the Ascanio spread as before and place this on top. Now you're in order to display the cards after this mixing motion. I wanted to do an Ascanio spread under the guise of mixing the cards. So in order to do this, you do the beginnings of the Ascanio spread. Your forefinger of my left hand, if you're right-handed, a lot of you will be your right hand. The forefinger, the pad of the finger touches the corner of the double, and the middle finger pushes up from the center of the card. What this is going to do is slightly twist the double, and your thumb will now contact this top card. Now it's only a very slight move, like you can't go crazy like back and forth and everything, but this is a really nice way to up-jog this card while keeping this double perfectly square. So what I do is I do this move and up-jog. I place these 2, I reverse the spread and place them on top in line with the double. My right hand, a lot of your left hand, will take the entire packet and now take out this up-jogged single and place it on the bottom. I then re-clamp here on the double and then reverse the order of these 2 cards, 1, 2. And I like to leave it in a spread like this because effectively I can now bring the cards here and turn them over and show that the cards have changed. And there's no re-squaring and then display. It's like you do the mix and you immediately show the cards, which I think is a really nice moment. And they're in order, right? Now, it's a nice display for me because I'm left-handed, because I hold the cards like this and they're spread like this. But if you're right-handed, quite the same thing applies. You can do the mix, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you just make sure that the cards are a little more in line, you can turn the cards over like this into your other hand, and the indices will be here. Of course, because I'm left-handed, they're hidden here. I can try and do it right-handed. Okay, so you'd show the jacks and mix the cards like this. And then you can just turn them over, and the indices are down here. I'm not very comfortable with that because I'm not right-handed, I'm left-handed, so I know it the other way. But it seems perhaps a lot of moves for accomplishing nothing, but the effect is that you're mixing the cards, right? And that should be the way this is handled. So in time with my actions of up-jogging this card, reversing these, and then reversing them again, I'm saying if I place the jacks in the same order as the sevens, so it's like if I place the jacks in the same order as the sevens, like this, apparently I've remembered the order, and then there you go, they change into the four sevens. So this display should be handled very casually. You know, it's just meant to emulate mixing the cards, and yet the double is kept here. If you want the instant change, then you have the Ascanio, and then you just wave over the pack, and you can thumb these off. And you have a very visual instant change of a 4 of a kind. So my friend Franco Pasquali had an idea for removing the court cards at the very beginning, and it might be to some of your taste. I don't like it, but that's a personal thing. Suppose you're going to use the jacks, and these are dispersed throughout the pack, or the cards are shuffled or something, and you take back the pack. What you're going to look for is 2 court cards where the same color is closest. So for example, the kings here, I have black, black, and then the 2 red cards. So I want this. I want these the 2 suits of the first kings that I come to be the same color. This would not work, like clubs, hearts, spades, because you'd have to reorder them. But you'll be surprised, like, after just shuffling the cards for quite a bit, how often this sort of a scenario comes up. So, say we're going to use the kings, he would run through and he'd upjog the kings like this. So 1, 2, and you upjog the face, the first one you arrive at, much lower than the remaining ones. So spades, and then hearts, and then diamonds. So what this means is that now when the cards are, okay, he displays the cards like this, but when the cards are square, the clubs is now much lower. So you can turn the packet over, and your forefinger should be able to reach for the king of clubs and square it into the pack as you strip out these and just place them on top. What this means is that the clubs is now, there's no need for the clubs to be culled or anything. You can then just pick up the packet and say, I'll show you something with this in a second. You turn this packet over, and now the only difference is that you spread through the pack and you'll cull this king of clubs. So you spread through with the cards faces towards you, and as you come down, you cull the clubs. And you say, name a number, aces for example, and he does it without the suit order as well. So he's just like, okay, so there's one here, we have one a little further down. Okay, and these two are together, right? Hearts and diamonds. And then we can use the kings like this. Again, he's doing the switch. These go here, and you can proceed in the same way. It's a little quicker here because he doesn't do the mix of the display. It just goes straight into the change. So this is the cull effect. Dan,
Alex.
so good to see you. Would you name any number from 1 to 10?
4.
Sorry, I should have done this before. We started, but I want you to choose a card. Okay. So would you just touch the back of one of these cards? It doesn't matter which one.
Right there.
This one here.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if I know what the card is. So in this case, the 9 of clubs. The important thing is that we remember not only what the card is, but also the situation that we have, or the orientation of the cards. So we have your card reversed somewhere in the center of the pack, and we can mimic this this setup, if you like, with the cards on the table. What was the number you said? Sorry.
4.
Okay. I'll leave 4 reversed. 6, 7, 8, 10. And I know the cards are close, and you think that I'm going to switch them, but I won't touch the cards. If I just bring my hands over for 1 second, then you should be able to see here, in the center of the pack is now the 4, and down here.
Awesome.
So we're going to go into the explanation of my take on Alex Elmsley's Diamond Cut Diamond, but first of all, I wanted to perform the original version. So, Daniel, would you choose one of these cards for me? And also, while you're looking at the card, can you just think of a number from 1 to 10? It doesn't have to be related to the card, but you think of one?
Yeah.
And I want you to change your mind as many times as you like, just so you're entirely happy.
Okay.
Okay. You got it?
I got
Okay.
it.
If you place the card back in here, and we'll leave it inside of the pack. Instead of me going through and trying to take out what card I think is your card. Okay, you don't have to give anything. Well, thank you. We'll do something slightly different in that. Please, would you give me the number that you...
3.
Okay, 1, 2. I'll leave 3 face down. I set these up a moment ago. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, does this have any relation to your card? Like, your card is a 3 as well, or... No? It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. Okay. I tell you what. Your card somewhere inside of the pack, if I just ripple like this and snap, then the 3 should change into your Jack. Worst reveal ever. You're welcome. So this is the explanation of my take on Alex Elmsley's Diamond Cut Diamond. You're going to remove... There's a little bit of setup, and unfortunately, or fortunately, you need a duplicate. My rationalization for using a duplicate is that the transpose is just so clean and very strong. So, it's worth it. So the setup is you're going to remove the 10 through ace of diamonds and place them in reverse order, so the 10 is at the top and the ace is at the face. You're also going to use one of the duplicates. In this case, I've chosen a contrasting card. It's nice to have a contrasting card, but it doesn't need to be so wildly contrasting that, you know, this is just for explanation purposes. Maybe an 8 of spades or an 8 of clubs, something like that would work. Anyway, one of the cards goes here. You then place 4 indifferent cards at the face of this diamonds packet, and then the second duplicate. So king, 10 to ace, 4 random cards, then the other king. Then the rest of the deck. So this is your setup from the top down, and you're ready to go. You could false shuffle, but it doesn't make sense for a little later on because you're removing the ace through 10 in order. So I just don't false shuffle. I come out with the cards like this, and you're going to do the method for the traditional diamond cut diamond effect. But the work is done right at the beginning and is way out of the way for the reveal at the end. So what you do here is you're going to switch the king of clubs for a named number, 1 through 10. So you have a spectator name a number from 1 to 10. Suppose they say 4. Mentally, what I'm doing in my head is, it's going to sound a little strange, but as soon as you get it, it's very straightforward. I'm going to do 11 minus whatever number they name. So 11 minus 4 in this case is 7. So, in my head, I'm going to do second deals on 6 of the cards. The 7th one, I mean, I'll go through this again with a couple more examples, but the 7th one will be a regular top deal, and the remaining 3 to make up to 10 will be second deals as well. So I'll show it with the king face up, right? So they name 4, 11 minus 4 is 7, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th is going to be a top deal. And now 8, 9, 10 are also second deals, so 8, 9, 10. What this has done is it's changed the place of the 4 for the king. And I think that's pretty remarkable. Like, the second deal is completely hidden, especially in the presentation that you give. So, I'll do it again face up so you can see what's going on. These cards are here. It would be each of them reversed, but they're still in the right order, 10 down to ace, and the king is here. I'll leave it face up. Say they name 6. 11 minus 6 is 5. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is a top. Then in my head I'm counting back up to 10. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is squared and put off to the side. So the way I handle this is I say to the audience member, could you please just name a number from 1 to 10? As soon as they name the number, I say, forgive me, I should have done this ahead of time, and I start doing the dealing procedure. Because I go from that immediately into them choosing a card, I often think that they forget that they've named a number right at the beginning. But nevertheless, let's say they name 4. So the king is here. I do 6, second deal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, top deal, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 seconds. So now the force card or the duplicate is in the right position for the number that they named. This is off to the side, and I say, sorry, would you mind choosing one of these cards? Like, I should have done this before, forgive me, my mistake. Anyway, it's done now, choose one of the cards. What I'm going to do now is I spread off 2 cards and 2 more cards. And these last 2, so technically the force card is now 6th down from the top. So these last 2 I spread over, and my ring finger and middle finger contact the face of them, so my thumb can drag this top card back, and that card will stay in place. I break here, it's just a nice break to get into the cull, right? As opposed to, I see perhaps a lot of people coming over and then they would cull the card like this, and you see a card disappear, and it's just, I think there are nicer ways of doing it, and this is one of those ways. What you're going to do now is my version of the Hofzinser spread force. I absolutely hated whenever anyone would say, touch a card, this one, and then you have this horrible, like, tapping motion of the card before you then deal it down, or say, okay, remember the card. Oftentimes you even get this thing, right, where this, I don't know, it's not very elegant in my book. So I continue spreading, and my remedy for this is that I will align the force card, or the cull card, with the second card in. So say they were to touch this card, for example, and I break the spread at this point, and I move the card so that now from above it's in line with the second card in from the spread. Right? I want to get it as close as possible to being here, but if it's too far over, it's going to show, so I want to keep it hidden. So I get it as close as possible to being in line with the spread without actually going there. Then the bigger action covers the smaller action. So what I'm going to do is I bring this hand up forwards, but these fingers underneath and this thumb at the back just spread that card so that it's now in line with the spread, as if, you know, they were to be touching this card. So I turn the spread over like this, and I thumb off the king, and you have this nice image where the cards are still spread. Right? I turn this hand then back down and continue to spread the pack, and you have this image of a card of having been chosen. So once again, the card is culled, they touch one of these cards, I bring it to here, and you move it in line with the spread as you turn your hand up and spread the cards. This again is perhaps a little jolting for the audience, because usually when people choose a card, the value isn't immediately shown to the magician, where in this case the performer knows the value immediately. So I think there's a moment of relax generally. What you're going to want to do now is you just square this card up, and you will need to do a half pass of everything below the top card of the deck. That's, you know, this is nice that there's a moment of relax again, because you know the card, you're not going to try and divine it now clearly because you know what it is. So I think saying an ambiguous remark in a conversational tone is a good way to misdirect from the half pass. So if you're looking generally at the audience's eyes and, you know, they're not out to get you or just burning your hands or anything like that, this is a good moment for you to say, so we're going to also consider the situation as we currently have it. You half pass everything below this top card. And now the setup is 4 of diamonds here, king of clubs here, reversed in the center of the pack. But you're holding the cards here. At this point, you're going to do a switch of mine, which is going to switch the king, in this case, for the 4. So there are a couple of different ways that it can be done. If you're left-handed, I think it looks the best to do it the way that I'm about to teach, but I'll also teach a way of doing it right-handed. It's based loosely on the reverse spread and some of the work by Lee Asher in his book Pulp Friction. What you're going to do is you bring the cards up like this, so it's a bit of a discrepancy in that you're bringing the cards now so that the faces are towards you. But you bring the cards up like this, and you do a block push-off for this first bit in order to not expose the face of this card. So you're spreading through the cards like this until you get to the selection. Now you split the cards at the selection, and you're going to gesture to it here. So the selection isn't here, it's on the top of the spread packet. These cards are now square, and they sort of fall down here. What I'm going to start to do is the reverse spread, but really I don't reverse spread them straight away, because what I'll do is this hand will come down and square up all of the cards and turn around to the side. At this point, I would start spreading now with my right hand and approach the cards and up jog this face down card and continue spreading the rest of the deck. So you have this really great image of the king still being in the center of the pack, and in fact you've switched it for the 4. So once more, you spread through here. This is the exposed view. The faces really would be towards you. You split at this point, and you come down, square up, and respread this way. So it is a reverse spread. So from here to here. This hand then also reverse spreads and up jogs the card. And I think a really great motivation for this, or my friend Justin Hyam said that this was a good cover for it, was to turn to... I was just experimenting with doing it in this plane and doing it to the side and things, and I showed Justin this idea of coming around, and he said that this was a really good way of covering the move. And it's like you're showing the audience another perspective of exactly the same image. So you come around here, and you bring these cards now down to the table, keep making sure that this is not displayed, and you spread the cards out like this. I'll go into a little more detail about that switch momentarily, but here you've created the image, and now you call back to the packet. This was an idea shown to me by Franco Pasquale, the idea of miscalling information that you've already heard. So, for example, they named a 4 at the beginning. When I asked them to name a number from 1 to 10, they named 4. I say, what number did you name? Was it 5? And then they say 4. Usually they're quick to correct you, and it's kind of gleeful. But this is quite a Spanish sort of thing to do, Spanish school of magic. So they say 4, they correct you, and I often pause here for about a second, let's say. Don't say anything, don't go, or I think it's very easy to overact and very easy to, when you make a mistake, to become this, caricature of a real person. But anyway, they've named 4, and you say, okay, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. We'll leave 4 face down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You leave this number face down, and you have, again, you can say that there's some parallel between the images here. And you show your hands empty and make some sort of gesture that you're covering the cards. And I show here that now is the 4, and in the position that they named is the king. So the cards have very cleanly switched. What I like about this is this information is so far removed from apparently the bulk of the trick that it seems completely impossible. So one more thing for the switch. Because if you're left-handed, you spread the cards normally like this, but if you reverse spread, they look a little more perhaps normal or a little more aesthetic to an audience. If you're right-handed and you spread the cards like this, when you reverse spread the cards, you get this kind of ugly looking, all the indices are down here, and it looks just a bit foreign. So, what you can do to combat this is if you have the switch card on the face and in the middle, you can do the reverse spread to start off with. So, I'll imagine I'm right-handed and I would have a card chosen like this, the indices are all where they should be. I would reverse spread to start off with, like this, and get to the point the same way. Now, you just come down, and instead of doing a reverse spread in this place, you're just doing a regular spread of the cards. This is again a regular spread, and this is also a more comfortable way to finish. So for context, left-handed me, I would be like this. I would be reverse spreading the cards like this. It's a little bit to get my head around. I would come down, thumb off this one, and spread the cards. So you can see why I opt for doing it regular spread, then reverse spread, as opposed to reverse spread, then regular spread. But the switch is exactly the same, it looks exactly the same, and I think one of the main really great things about this is that it also hides the back color of the card. So say they would have chosen the 4, okay, reverse, like this, the king. This king can have a different color back, because when you're spreading through here, the faces are towards you, right? So they see the face of the card, and when you come down here, you've already squared this up, and you can up-jog this card here, and the card again is hidden. So the back design on the back color is completely hidden throughout the switch. Also, conveniently, if you rewind, it's also hidden throughout the entirety of the force. So if this king, let's say, is I'll just put it in 6 from top, and I'll leave it face up so you can see what's going on. I thumb off 2 cards and then 2 cards, and as I push off these next 2 cards, I don't want to expose this one, so I turn both of the hands over, these 2 contact here, and I just pull this card back. So again, as the hands coalesce, I can cull the card. They touch the back of one of these cards, I bring it here, and as you turn the hand over, again the back is hidden. Okay, it's a weird image because I'm turning it back over, but basically you have that the card revolves here in the center of the pack, and the back is hidden, the back is hidden, the back is hidden. You do this half pass, spreading here, again the back is hidden, and the switch, the back is way down here, again hidden. So, I hope that inspires you in some other, direction, maybe mystery card sort of plot, in that this is a different color back. Dennis Baer had the idea of perhaps this duplicate could be a double facer, and then in that case the final spread at the end is completely clean, because you wouldn't see a back here, you would just see another face. And that is just about it. Yeah, that's my handling of Alex Helmsley's Diamond Cut Diamond plot.